guys, Logan here, and welcome back to my Star Wars series. I'm going to be covering every Star Wars film leading up to The Last Jedi coming out in December. I already covered Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and now we are moving on to Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, or as I like to playfully call it, the Anakin and Padme romance love story movie posing as Star Wars Episode 2. And just like in my review for The Phantom Menace, this review is also going to contain spoilers. You have been warned. This movie starts off with an opening scene of Padme's decoy of the Queen of Naboo being killed off and by an explosion of a Naboo ship on Coruscant, and it was the first attempt at Padme's life. And after that happens, Padme went to see Supreme Chancellor Palpatine and Mace Windu talking about the first attempt on her life. And she suspects that Count Dooku, played by Christopher Lee, who by the way, rest in peace, was behind the first assassination attempt. And Mace Windu doesn't believe that, saying that he was once a Jedi. I'm trying to get this right. Mace Windu is saying that Count Dooku one time was a Jedi, and then he turned into the Sith Lord. And if that were true, then should your ideals be okay with you turning from Jedi to Sith? I'm actually confused right now at this point, now that I think about it. I mean, it's just so dumb the way George Lucas has changed all the ideology of Jedi, of what they should or should not do, right after he directed Return of the Jedi. I mean, George Lucas, you're not doing a good job at your own writing, man. Like, what has happened to you? Just the last part that I will say about it. Let's talk about Hayden Christensen as adult Anakin. Now, Jake Lloyd from The Phantom Menace, who plays the young Anakin, was pretty awful. Hayden Christensen as adult Anakin also was terrible. His acting was terrible, his line deliveries were terrible. Pretty much a lot of things that he does in this movie was pretty awful. And I feel like George Lucas has picked the wrong actor to play the adult Anakin. So anyway, that is my rant on Hayden Christensen, although there is more of him that I'm going to be talking about. But let's move on with the story. So, there was a second assassination attempt on Padme's life that took place. And it starts late at night. When this bounty hunter named Jango Fett sent this assassin of some sorts, programming this droid to go up there and just assassinate Padme by sending two killer worms, to assassinate Padme. What? That's like one of the dumbest ways to assassinate someone. Sending killer worms? Really? To kill someone? Like, wow. What a perfect example of how pathetic an assassin can be to do an attempt like that. Wow. So unbelievable, the way they did that. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin save Padme from those killer worms, and Obi-Wan Kenobi catches that droid, and you kind of get that the bounty hunter scene, which happened a few minutes later, was pretty cool. It was pretty cool, but you can kind of tell the background of where they are in the front looks pretty noticeable, but not noticeable to the point where it looks so terrible and all that stuff. Just not like that, no. And then Anakin and Obi-Wan minutes later found this assassin, and this assassin was killed by Jango Fett before she could tell them everything they want to know. And from there on, we get to see Hayden Christensen giving out his own acting in this shot right here.
He's overly critical. He never listens. He doesn't understand. It's not fair.
It seems like George Lucas wanted to used that scene as a hint that Anakin would slowly turn to the dark side. But he pretty much confused that with Anakin being just a whiny, a constant, never complaining brat. He's basically a brat in that scene, as well as multiple scenes, actually. He just came off as a whiny brat. So later on, he gets an assignment to escort Padme safely to Naboo, just for safekeeping, I would say. Just for safety, just in case there are another assassination attempts on Padme. And during that, we also get scenes where Obi-Wan Kenobi started discovering this planet called Kamino, where we get to be introduced for the first time to see the clone troopers. That's right. We get to see clone troopers on the planet of Kamino filled with possibly 100% of water. Now that looks really cool. I really like planets that really have a handful of waters, and some alien places took place there. Oh, and did I ever mention the fact that every single clone trooper was CGI? Yeah, try to let that sink in. So Obi-Wan is on a journey to find this bounty hunter by the name of Jango Fett. And while he was on there, we also get a lot of scenes with Anakin and Padme on their romance journey. How awesome is that? Just seeing two lovely people being on their romantic and beautiful journey on Naboo, where they can spend a lot of great time on there. That's just so awesome. And forget the scenes with Obi-Wan Kenobi and all that stuff. Just, yeah. Cool. No, it's actually not cool. The storyline with Anakin and Padme spending their romantic time on Naboo was one of the absolute downfalls of this movie. Actually, there were so many scenes where where George Lucas was trying to make us feel for Padme and Anakin. And as you watch this movie, you can totally notice that they have no chemistry between them. Just nothing. Nothing there that is pretty much really romantic about them and all that stuff. Even their kiss pretty much did not feel very realistic because of the lack of chemistry between them. And it's just so out of left field. And it's just really sad. And not to mention the fact that he gave out one of the most cringe-worthy lines in this entire movie.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
If you really thought that was the last scene where he gave out that awful line delivery, trust me, it's not. There's actually more of it, and we will talk about that later. So, getting out of the way, we have Obi-Wan Kenobi tracking down Boba Fett and his son Jango inside this asteroid field scene in a planet called Geonosis. And now, I will say this. There were some aspects about the scene that I really liked, and another scene that I really did not like about it. What I liked about this scene is the sound effect of the seismic charge, where Jango launches this seismic charge out of his fighter, and the sound effect goes like boom, boom. And, I really like that. It was very intense. It sounds very intense, actually. What I did not like about that scene is that it didn't really set up like it was going to be a very tenseful or suspenseful scene. There was another Star Wars movie that pretty much did the same thing, except better, and I couldn't tell what it was. Oh, it was The Empire Strikes Back. You remember that one scene where Han Solo was flying to the asteroid field, and C-3PO was telling Han Solo how many odds there were of entering the asteroid field, and Han Solo refused to listen, saying, "Never tell me the odds." That really set the tension and the tone of what this scene could possibly feel like. It was going to be very suspenseful and a lot of tension will come to it. The asteroid field scene in this movie didn't even live up to the asteroid field in The Empire Strikes Back. There was no tension, there was no suspense, actually, and there was no levity in that scene where there was not a single moment in that scene where you're just like, wow, I really wish Obi-Wan Kenobi can succeed. I'm hoping he will succeed. No, it didn't feel like that the same way we feel about the scene in The Empire Strikes Back. Now, I understand why they would make this asteroid field scene in this movie. It just didn't really pay off very well. So Jango Fett and his son Boba arrived on Geonosis, and Obi-Wan Kenobi is trying to find his way in. And after that, we get back to Anakin having this nightmare about his mother being captured by the Tusken Raiders, and Anakin felt the need to just return back to his home planet of Tatooine just to find his mother. And Padme was willing to follow him, and then they eventually arrived on Tatooine and found that Anakin's mother's family was only there and not his mother and all that stuff. So Anakin went off to find his mother. And then we cut back to Obi-Wan Kenobi infiltrating the droid army thing or whatever on Geonosis and all that stuff. And then he found himself spying on Count Dooku, who we were introduced for the first time on the big screen. Now, this could have been a very intense scene where Count Dooku would choke on one of the aliens who refused to accept his deal, or treaty, as I should say. That would have been a very interesting scene. That would set up the tone of what his character was going to be. But no, George Lucas felt the need to show him being all this a really cool and calm and genuine, humble old man and all that stuff. And it's just like, why? But anyway, I'm done ranting on that. So yeah, we then cut back to Anakin founding the Tusken Raider camp, where he suspects that his mother is there. And he found his mother laying in his arms. He holds her in his arms and all that stuff, and then she dies, and then Anakin has this look like he's about to kill the Tusken Raiders, which he did, and that really was probably the best scene throughout the entire movie. It's him looking so dark and gritty, and very like the type of look you would get whenever someone you love or very close to dies in front of you and all that stuff. That was kind of a small hint of Anakin turning to the dark side. I thought George Lucas pulled that off well, although the scene was cut way too short, just for Anakin to slice the Tusken Raiders in half. But we also get to another scene where he was arriving at his home and he was carrying his dead mother, and he gets that not so good look on his face, and that's really chilling. I actually like that scene. It shows him. It was another hint of Anakin slowly turn to the dark side. It was the secondary. It was probably the second best hint of Anakin slowly turning to the dark side in this movie and all that stuff. I would say George Lucas also pulled that off. Just two great hints and all that stuff. So, yeah, kudos to you, George Lucas. But it wasn't too long until we saw the next scene in which Hayden Christensen gave some of the worst line deliveries and some of the worst acting I have ever seen in any film that I have ever watched. And I'm not exaggerating, so observe.
And not just the men, but the women and the children too. They're like animals, and I slaughtered them like animals. I hate them.
I actually don't have the energy to get into that right now. So anyway, we get to the gladiatory arena scene, and there were some aspects about it that I thought were very interesting. I do pretty much like it. It was kind of interesting. So after the gladiatory arena battle between Anakin Padme and Obi-Wan against the creatures part of the arena, we get to see the Jedi Council taking action for the very first time in the Star Wars saga, or mostly the prequel trilogy. They had not done a single damn thing in The Phantom Menace, and now they did it in Attack of the Clones. And it was like, finally, they did something, instead of like sitting on their seats doing nothing but talking. So anyway, we get to a scene with Yoda along with many clone troopers joining the battle against the droids. And in a few minutes we get to another scene where Anakin and Obi-Wan landed on this one specific hiding spot where Count Dooku is suspected to escape from. There were some people that actually liked those scenes, and there are other people that do not like those scenes. For one of the Yoda and Count Dooku fight scene, there were some complaints about Yoda using his lightsaber to fight Count Dooku is kind of stupid and probably one of the dumbest things in the entire saga. For me personally, it didn't really bother me, but I can really understand why they would say that, because I don't think that Yoda would need a lightsaber to be a really cool Jedi, a really cool character. Like, Yoda has shown that he can be a really cool character and a really cool Jedi without the lightsaber. The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi understood that very perfectly, and did that perfectly as well. But anyway, we get to see Yoda using his lightsaber, and it was kind of a sore thumb moment for me, just seeing Yoda using his lightsaber. Like, I didn't really care. It didn't bother. I don't really care I cared nothing about that part, but it didn't really offended me. So Count Dooku escaped Geonosis. I don't know why I keep forgetting how to pronounce it. I'm sorry. And arrives at Coruscant, where he meets his master, Darth Sidious. And then this movie ends with a wedding ceremony between Anakin and Padme. Yep, that's right. They eventually got married at the end of the movie. So yay, that's really cool. I honestly would watch The Phantom Menace over this one all day, and I will explain to you why. The Phantom Menace was a disappointment. I totally get that. But at least it had some really cool lightsaber fight scenes with Darth Maul. And at least it didn't have the romantic storyline of Anakin and Padme as the distraction from the story that it was telling. And, I cannot believe I'm saying this, at least it didn't have a terrible dialogue and awful acting and some pretty not so good line deliveries, most of them given by Hayden Christensen, who, by the way, was terrible as Anakin. Like, in terms of ranking all Star Wars movies from worst to best, this is easily the worst Star Wars movie in the entire saga. It's a complete and total mess. I'm going to give Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, a Bronze Medal of Honor. So anyway, guys, that is my review for Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. My next review is going to be for Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, the final installment of the Star Wars prequel trilogy directed and written by George Lucas, of course. Oh, and another update that I want to give you guys on is the release date of when my Liam Neeson series will start. And it will start with my review for Taken on November 14th. That's right. I will be starting my Liam Neeson series on November 14th. I think it's on November 14th. I could be wrong. It could have been later than that. But, you know, I'm just letting y'all know when my Liam Neeson series will start. So look out for my Taken review on November 14th. which I will kickstart my Liam Neeson series. So be on the lookout for that. So anyway, guys, that is about it. If you guys enjoyed my review, please click the like button. And if you have already watched Star Wars Episode 2, Revenge of the Attack of the Clones, I don't know why I keep forgetting it. Comment down below to let me know what you think of it. Did you like it? Did you thought it was okay? Or did you not like it? And if you enjoy what you've seen here and you want to see future videos from me, please click the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great week, Battle Squad. And as always, fight the good fight. Oh, and by the way, check out for my review for Murder on the Orient Express tomorrow. I will be uploading my review for that movie tomorrow night, I will say. So be on the lookout for that. So anyway, peace!